what is modern day Jordan and much of Palestine as well in coming into Islam. So let's talk about this man, and his name is a very interesting one. His name is pronounced Shurahbil ibn Hasana. Shurahbil ibn Hasana, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And it can also be Sharhabil, according to some of the scholars. So Shurahbil ibn Hasana, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, was one of the first to embrace Islam. We don't have a number that's attributed the way that we do with Utbah ibn Ghazwan, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who was, according to one narration, the seventh who embraced Islam. But we do know that he's very early on. And Shurahbil, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, is named after his mother, Ibn Hasana. And Hasana, his mother, is also an early Muslim, radiyallahu anha. So she'd also be considered one of the first Muslims. And why he's named after her, the scholars say, is because she is the one who adopted him and raised him as a child. So there is actually very little known about his father. In fact, much dispute about who his father even was, what his actual name was, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Some of the sources mention a man by the name of Abdullah ibn Muta', and they say that he's from Banu Kinda or Banu Tamim, one of the two famous tribes at the time. But at the end of the day, his mother adopted him as a child, and he was named or attributed to his mother, and his mother raised him. And later on in life, she would marry a man by the name of Sufyan ibn Ma'mar, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, from Al-Madinah, who he and his sons became Muslim. And he and his sons, Jabir ibn Sufyan ibn Ma'mar and Junada ibn Sufyan ibn Ma'mar, who would be stepbrothers of Shurahbil, also would make the second hijrah to Abyssinia. So they originate from the lineage of the Ansar, but at the same time, they were settled in Mecca, and they would migrate to Abyssinia along with Shurahbil and his mother. So Shurahbil, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, like Utbah, we have nothing about him before the migration to Abyssinia. We know that he made the second hijrah to Abyssinia along with his mother and along with his stepfather and his stepbrothers. So when he is in Abyssinia, what we will see of him is that the Prophet ﷺ would entrust him with a serious amana, with a serious trust. And that is what is narrated authentically about Habiba radiyallahu ta'ala anha, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, if you remember when we spoke about Habiba radiyallahu anha, she has the most interesting story of marriage to the Prophet ﷺ. Rasulullah ﷺ hears about the death of her husband, Ubaydullah ibn Jahsh in Abyssinia. So Habiba radiyallahu anha migrated to Abyssinia with Ubaydullah ibn Jahsh. And Ubaydullah ibn Jahsh, and we spoke about the dispute about whether or not he became Christian, and he died actually not even as a Muslim in Abyssinia. But the point is that Habiba is left as a widow in Abyssinia and in a very peculiar situation. And she's the daughter of Abu Sufyan. So it's a very sensitive situation. And the Prophet ﷺ sends a proposal to Habiba radiyallahu ta'ala anha in Abyssinia, all the way from Al-Madinah. And when she receives that proposal, she receives it on the part of An-Najashi. So the Prophet ﷺ actually addresses the Najashi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu to conduct the marriage on his behalf. And An-Najashi radiyallahu ta'ala anhu from himself actually gave a mahar of 4,000 dirhams. And of course, he held the wedding, the walima, the feast of Habiba radiyallahu ta'ala anha in Abyssinia himself radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. So Habiba radiyallahu anha has an interesting marriage to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which we've already covered in some detail. Now, where does Shurahbil come into play here? He was the person, according to Habiba radiyallahu ta'ala anha, that An-Najashi sent her with to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَبَعَثَ بِهَا إِلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم مع شرحبيل ibn Hasana رضي الله تعالى عنه. This is an authentic narration of Abu Dawood. So he is the one who accompanies Habiba radiyallahu ta'ala anha from Abyssinia to Al-Madinah, where she would be reunited with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam years after the actual nikah was conducted. So subhanAllah, that's a great honor to be entrusted with, and it shows you the position of competency and honor that he has with the Prophet ﷺ as well, to have such a trust with him. However, the greater honor comes to him when he arrives in Al-Madinah. So